We'll get cracking. Wait, hey, packing punches. Something's just fallen down behind me. We are back with episode 7. In the blue corner, it's me, Ben, Mr. Bombastic Hyde. In the red corner, Scotty Too Hotty Findlay. And the third person in the ring this evening, Bec Connolly. How you doing?
Hiya, I'm good, thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Scotty, how you doing, fella?
I'm good.
Rocking the summertime shirt.
Yeah, the weather, it's brought it out.
Good vibes.
Well, Bec, 3-18 and 0. No one would call you a journeywoman. Every time I've seen you fight, you fight and you bring it. I've been fortunate enough to see you live 5 times, I think. So it's always a great pleasure to see you fight. And you boxed 5 world champions at multiple weight divisions, rarely stopped, varying levels of notice. How on earth do you do it?
I think that number has gone up now because at the weekend we got the whole lot because Ellie became a world champion. So that is a hell of a lot of them now.
Yeah.
I think people mistake the record. There's definitely some losses that weren't losses on that record for sure.
100%.
And also it's easy to look at it on paper and go, oh yeah, she's just in it to come in, come out. But I know that I accepted that I was like the gatekeeper for that standard. And there's no one else in the women that can do that right now. So we're having a great time doing it, but I certainly don't go into giving them an easy night's work, that's for sure.
Absolutely. Well, I said in our socials when we were sort of promoting that you were going to be on with us, that boxing in general just would not thrive without people like yourself. But women's boxing specifically, it just would not be progressing in this country the way that it is if we weren't getting the challenge that you bring to every fighter that you fight. Because I said on last week's show that when it first started, I was kept pushing, saying the women need a British title, they need the English title, the area titles. And I spoke with Dave Caldwell on Instagram Live, and he was like, there's not the depth, they can't do it. And they're bringing in Latvian bin ladies and Romanian dinner ladies just to fill the cards. But you are actually giving a solid fight to anybody that walks in the ring. And as we've now said, we're now 6 world champions. I mean, you look at 6 world champions, they're not there without getting through you.
Yeah, absolutely. And like a lot more of them have got titles than that. And I think he is right. There wasn't the depth to the divisions. And this, like, it really worries me about the future, but really makes me excited as well. I don't want the women to go backwards. I don't want them to go the same route maybe the men's boxing went. They all come to fight at the moment. That I came around at a time where he's correct. There's not the depth to the divisions. Like I would be sat here with my nice British belt and my nice Southern area, and like I'd be champ at my level. But of course there wasn't that. It was like you've got this, and don't get me wrong, these Romanians and the Eastern European girls, they all come to fight, but they are different levels. Like there's a big difference in the abilities. So you've got the lower level pros down here, and then you've got the world champions and the elite that are coming over from the Olympics, like, and all those guys, and they're superb. And then there's like this huge gap in the middle. And obviously, when I started out, I was definitely aiming for and I like everyone should be aiming for the top. But if you're not, you're in it for the wrong reasons, and you shouldn't. If you're not aiming to be the best that you can possibly ever be, then I feel that boxing is not the sport for you. Like wherever that level is, you've got to aim there, and I aim there every single time. But I am here, and there was no one to fight. There was no, that it's going to get better and better for the people coming up and through now, because there are going to be British titles. I think there was one the other week, the first ever one, wasn't there?
Yeah.
And I've missed out on that bit, but I'm not at all bitter about that, because I've filled a different role in women's boxing. Like they wouldn't have been able to get to where they've got to. And I don't think the public would have liked it as much if they hadn't had to get through someone and get through a test first.
Absolutely.
I think a lot of them got shots at world titles a lot quicker than had there been the depth to the divisions that we're going to see in the next 10 years as all these amateurs come up and through. But they've fought hard fights, haven't they? Ellie, for example, at the weekend, I did Ellie's debut. I think she's a fantastic girl, and I thought she was just head and shoulders, like she stood out like a bright shining star at the weekend. Like she deserved every second of that world title, and I thought she was absolute class. But she had to fight. Like she really had to fight for all her. I think she's had 6 fights, has she? Like 6 fights is not a lot to be going. 6 pro fights to be going in for a world title is not a lot. But each and every one, she's progressed up a little bit, fighting someone just that little bit above the last person, and she didn't she didn't get an easy night's work, and she did take it seriously, her debut. And yeah, I think there's space for everyone, and I saw an opportunity to fill a gap that was there in the market.
Absolutely.
I thought, right, I can do that.
Well, I did see a little bit of Ellie's very late career as an amateur, and when she turned over pro and they announced their debut, announced she was fighting you in her debut, I was like, that is an acid test to come in. Do you know what I mean? That's not a a Romanian or an East European that no one's heard of. That's a hard fight, and you gave her a hard night as well.
Yeah, it was a bloodbath, that fight.
It was.
It was like, we're both tough, lady, come on. But she was absolutely class, and she absolutely won that fight. But I like to think, and her team were really, really supportive afterwards as well, that she had a tough night's work. It wasn't a given, was it?
Which is what they want, I think, at the end of the day. I mean, looking now at just the British fighters you fought. I mean, the caliber is just unreal. Terry Harper, Carly Skelly, Tasha Jonas, Rachel Ball, Ramla Ali, Nina Hughes, of course, another world champion.
Yeah.
Who's the toughest, do you think, out of all the British girls you faced?
I think we were talking about this today, actually, because I've just been up at Enzo's. He's got another prospect turning over with him. Nearly fell off my own table. Where is he? Somewhere in Wales.
Swansea, I think, isn't he?
Swansea, that's where I've been today. I'd say Natasha Jonas was probably the most skillful, technical fighter that I've been in with. Terry Harper was very, very sharp. But Bridges for me was the absolute the power, where the power came from. For such a tiny woman. I mean, I wasn't very comfortable down at 118. I think I fought Bridges and Nina Hughes down at 118, and it's
Bantam's a struggle for it.
Yeah.
What sort of notice did you have for the Nina Hughes fight? Because that wasn't a particularly great time for you, was it?
Oh, I know. I fight with my heart on my sleeve, and I fight like I live, which is I'm not going to change. I'm never going to change, and that is how I live as well. But it's not always a great thing. I can't switch off. If I've got something going on outside of the ring, it comes into the ring with me, which is not always great. But with Nina Hughes, the February we were meant to fight, and I'd done all the training camp, everything, because we'd been given, I think, it was Lee and her manager, isn't he? Yeah. So I'd been given notice on the Hughes fight, and the day before the weigh-in, I got COVID, and it was the February last year, so they were still making you do a COVID test as you went into the ring. So I was like, me and Gemma, because my sparring partner is Gemma Rueg. And I rang my coach and said, Coach, I've just tested positive for, because I was making weight, and I was thinking, it's never nice being hungry, but it never feels this bad either.
No.
Proper I don't feel well. And I rang my coach and I said, I've just tested it, done a COVID test, and it's come back. And he said, I was just about to ring you. Gemma's just had to pull out of her fight because she's got COVID as well. So we were like, which sparring gave us COVID? But I phoned like straight away. And of course, it was the day before the weigh-in, and then all the stuff came out online that she said I hadn't made weight. And I was like, well. She's since apologised, so it's like fine. She was obviously quite upset about the fight being cancelled. But for me, I was just like, whoa. I've like I fought like 50 odd times now. I fought professionally 20 odd times. Like, I have never once been an ounce overweight. Like, we're not going to start doing that now. That is not the reason. So we rescheduled it for the April. So so I did get plenty of notice to make the weight, but it's just I'm just not a skinny little girl. Like, I do a lot of weight training. I like CrossFit. I do a lot of sport. I really like pizza. It doesn't feel good being all tiny, but it's what it is. I think super bantam and featherweight suit me best.
Yeah.
But it depends. I've just taken this fight in York Hall, and it's up at lightweight, so we shall have a go at that. Yeah.
less dieting.
Well, there we go. You think it means that, but it just means that I'm like, yeah, I can have some extra calories now, and then I'll be manically dieting down.
Well, Scotty and I discussed last week, actually, Ebony staying at bantamweight, because she does have quite a frame. She used to be a bodybuilder as well. To keep her frame anywhere close to fight weight, especially now she's been injured for a while, must be a struggle for her. And today we found out she's just signed with Dave Caldwell and moved up north. So do you think that's a good move for her?
Yeah, like I don't know the ins and outs of anything. Well, I don't know anything, literally nothing. But from what I could see from the social media before, like when she was coming over from America quite a lot of the people she were hanging out with were up north, and she supports Leeds, doesn't she? So it kind of makes sense. I hope I don't know how far away it is. Hopefully it'll be close enough that I'll be able to drive up, because I drove to Essex once, but it's just such a ball ache of a drive. It just, I don't.
Not for me, I live it.
Oh dear. It really, really took me all day and then all day back. And like, I think for me, 2 hours is the max. Like today was 2.5 hours. And I'm thinking by the time I've done it there and back, I was like, oh, it's a long way. But yeah, I think she seems like she'll be happy up there. And as for fight weight, I think she cuts weight brilliantly. To be able to get down, I think that is a bodybuilding thing, though, isn't it? Maybe I wish I knew the tricks, because I'd quite like to be able to eat ice cream the night before a weigh-in and stuff like that. But I'm just like that, near my mouth. I'm eating dust.
I feel like I'm hogging all my time with you. Scotty didn't know I was very excited to have you on. I very nearly met you at the all women show in October at the O2, because I was sat in like the next row to a few of your family and friends, and you came up after your fight, and I was chatting to my mate, we were having a drink, got so enthralled watching it that by the time I turned around and said I'm going to go and meet Bec, you'd gone and you were sitting there on the drink.
I was off yakking here, there, and everywhere. It's such a fight. That was.
It was fantastic, wasn't it? I thought you won that fight. Yeah.
I won that.
Yeah, I thought Sarah Liebman was. Yeah, I thought she was very classy, and I think she's probably going to be quite a star at featherweight, actually, especially now Terry Harper's moved up. But I thought you won that.
Yeah, I didn't think she liked the aggressive sort of style, which I was determined to go in with. There was a couple of tweets from that, which, to be fair to my coach, like, he's got me under control now, because I do like to just go in and scrap, don't I? And he's like, you can't do that all the time. There was a couple of things in that fight, like she kept going to the left-hand side, and I couldn't figure out what he was quite telling me to do. And then I watched it back and I was like, he's clearly telling you to step back with your left leg. And like, it would have just, like, I think it'd have been a totally finished fight if I'd have just done that one little thing different. But I was gutted. I did think that I'd done enough to win that. And really, really disappointing. But again, when you're in the away corner, you just kind of have to accept that they've got a plan for the other fighter, haven't they? But I had a great night, and I thought I showed everyone that I was back to being like Bec, really. And I'd had a few fights where I was a bit emotional and a bit off my game completely. But that was a good positive fight, and then I've had a couple of really good positive fights this year. So yeah, hopefully on a roll, and hopefully I'll get a win because I feel like I deserve one.
Well, one of your more recent fights was with a previous guest of ours, with Stevie Levy.
Oh, okay, yeah, she's great, isn't she?
She is. She had lovely things to say about you as well. She's due to fight this Friday night in Rotherham. Although I've just looked on BoxRec, no one's actually got an opponent for that show yet.
Oh, okay. I don't
So
know. I thought that was a great fight with Stevie. I thought it was a really well matched fight, nice and even. So yeah, I think we're a good. Yeah, it was a good matchup. I thought that was a good shout, that fight.
Yeah, I could see you two having some quite effective sparring. Actually, I think for each other it would be.
Yeah, we've done that bit now, haven't we? So
yeah, that would be effective. So, one thing I did want to ask you: drug testing for ladies, is it as regular for the men?
Yes, I think it's absolutely compulsory on the belts, and then they do random testing the rest of the time. Personally, it's the money, isn't it? That's why they don't do it with every fight. Like, I think they should just do a urine test at the start of every. But then you've got to do all the small haul as well, haven't you? It's down to the promoter to pay. But there's no reason why the big shows can't be paying. But
yeah, it was something I was wondering about because, I mean, UCAD haven't got a particularly good reputation. They've with some of the stuff they've been doing with boxers in other sports as well, other low-level sportsmen they've been sort of making cases with. And VADA is obviously the one that costs all the money, doesn't it? Because it's the voluntary one.
But isn't that the one that where they've had the problem? I mean, I don't want to talk about other boxers, but where they've had the issues with boxers before, isn't it VADA that they've tested positive, and then UCAD that has
because the British Boxing Board will take the UCAD result because that's the United Kingdom anti-doping, whereas VADA I think is American based. So yeah, it's a bit of a strange one, but I don't recall hearing of a female boxer failing a drugs test.
Oh, I know 2 Americans that have fought in England that definitely did.
Oh, well, fantastic. Yeah. No names?
No. I'm not going down that rabbit hole. Absolutely not. Bec Connolly does not gossip. I know for a fact the Commonwealth definitely have people that come in and take a urine sample, and I guess now the British belts are coming in for the females. They'll start doing that as well. No. But
yeah, I think it's something that obviously needs. They don't need to make it all public, but as long as it's being done, because at the end of the day, the fighter's safety is paramount in the sport. So,
yeah, I think personally, like, more needs to. I know it's more prevalent in the males, but people know of people that get away with it. So maybe more should be. I mean, it's not like other sports, is it? You're like bodybuilding is quite open with it, but if you're in a different sport and it's just a biking or something like that, it's a lack of integrity, but you're not putting anybody at risk apart from yourself.
Yeah.
In fight sports, you're actually risking someone's life. Like, you risk their life when you get in there anyway. So I just think the sanctions need to be like a little bit hard. Like, you're risking life. That's my personal opinion. Anyway.
Mine's the same. I've always said if you test positive, you should be done. You should be banned for life. Never again.
And think about that opponent that you've been in with as well. Like, when you hit someone, you're taking a massive, massive risk anyway. But I know when I walk in there, I'm taking the same risk as that other person. I would not be happy to get in there with someone that's 5 times as strong as they should be. I know everyone's strength's different, but yeah, that's how I've always.
Chemically enhanced would be it's
a bit different.
Yeah, it's very dangerous, isn't it? And I mean, speaking of strength, sorry, Scotty, I know I'm hogging her. I'm in my element. I've listened to an interview that you did with IFL probably about a year back now, and I'll not direct quote.
Yeah, God.
I think you may have said something along the lines of nutrition can solve 80% of the problems that medicine can't.
Yes.
And I know that you are a
More.
trainer and you're
Even
banging
more.
into your nutrition. So was that always your lifestyle? Were you always training and watching the nutrition?
No, I was always training when I was younger. Then I went through a patch when I had my first daughter. After that, just lifestyle change really. When you're at home, I was fine with my first. I kept fit and worked all the way through, and then I was pregnant again within a couple of months with my second. Now that was a very, very different pregnancy. I was suddenly thrust into a world of sitting at home, people bringing around cake and coffee to visit the new baby. By the end of the pregnancy, my mum came to visit me for my daughter's first birthday, and her words as she walked through the door was, "Who did you eat?" I was like, "Apparently quite a lot of carrot cake, mum." So yeah, it wasn't a pretty picture after I had the kids. Pregnancy with the boys, completely different though. And then it was my dad's death that first got me because I deal with everything by just learning. I want to know like what causes this, cause and effect, and if I can educate myself and I just get quite obsessive with whatever I'm learning about. I always was the same, and at the time I was just like, I can't understand why he's dead. Like, it's just grief. What I now know is just grief. But I looked into it and I went down the rabbit hole and I never came back out of that rabbit hole. And then it was quite shocking. I was just like, we literally poison ourselves and we've created all these diseases. And food is absolutely the cure. And then you've got all the stuff in between, haven't you? You don't want to take the enjoyment out of your life, and there are some things that we all do that are not good for us, but we just do because they bring us some sort of semblance of joy. And then some things we just do out of habit and addiction, and the foods in the supermarkets, the processed foods that are causing all these diseases, like, they're designed to be addictive when you eat them so that you keep buying them. And we absolutely do. The salt and sugar content and all the fake sugar. I think there's something like 122 odd fake sugars that we put in our foods. Wow. And our bodies just aren't designed for that at all. And I always say, like, to my clients that we've got, like, everyone says, "Oh, I'm not intolerant to that," or anything else. If you fast, if you were to take everything out for a substantial amount of time, say 5 days or something, and you were to reset, you would then react if you were to add in some of the foods that you regularly consume now. And I just explain it like an alcoholic. You see some alcoholics and they can drink and drink and drink, and you don't see them have a hangover. You don't seem to think that anything happens to them. Whereas you get someone like me, when I wake up, if I've had a drink, I'm like, oh my God, end of the world. Everyone help me. But it's not that that alcohol hasn't damaged their body the night before, just like it would you or I. It's that their bodies got used to it, it's tolerating it, it's changed to meet those demands. And it's the same with our food. Our bodies get so used to consuming it, and they have to try. You're fighting for homeostasis all the time, and they have to get used to tolerating it. So it's not that your body's not being damaged by what you're eating anymore, and you're like, oh, I'm absolutely fine, it doesn't react, nothing happens. It's that it's trying to keep you stable. Like, if you took it out and put it back in, it would react. So that's kind of stuff that I work with my clients on, like just getting to a baseline and seeing where they're at. Sorry,
Yeah.
yacked on again, haven't I? Sorry, I sound like
No, honestly, it's so engaging, and it's something even obviously at the top level of the sport, a lot of the teams will have a nutritionist, won't they, within them, sort of guiding the fighter on what they eat. My background was in like I come from white collar into unlicensed. So for me to make weight, I was virtually starving myself and just having meal replacement shakes because I don't really like green food or anything like that. So I could always get my weight down, but I wouldn't be very strong.
And there's ways to incorporate the green stuff. And I've got like my little lad tonight. We've had masses of rows about. I train his football team, and I've just been over there training them. And okay, it's hot and it's sticky tonight, but he was just absolutely pathetic. And I was like, "What have you eaten today?" And he hasn't eaten what he's been given. He's taken some chocolate and this chocolate fudge flapjack and that. And I was like, how do you expect to be able to do anything? And I really have to try with him, like, to get the greens into some kind of smoothie or something, because he just put it on their plate and they're like, oh, this is gross. So, yeah, I definitely do my own nutrition, but I do like those meal replacement shakes, though, I have to say. But I'm a big foodie as well. Like, and that's the other thing, if you deprive yourself of stuff, you want it even more. Yeah. And I think it's just having balance. Like boxing works because I've tried all different lengths of camps. Like sometimes I don't get any notice at all, which is fine. But
I've stepped in on one day.
Yeah, I know. That's so cool. But if I have noticed, my preference is 6 weeks. Anything longer than that, and it doesn't do any benefit, but I just start going downhill after that. And anything shorter than that, I haven't reaped the rewards of having a clean diet and no wine and no chocolate or anything. Yeah, so, yeah, for me, the magic is 6 weeks, definitely.
Excellent stuff. Scotty, do you want to jump in? I kept seeing you sort of like...
That's all right. Bec, I'll never tell you what I eat. My diet is atrocious. But
can you see him drinking that iron brew?
Iron brew. It's iron brew extra though, no sugar. It's just got all the other bad stuff in it. With the 6 world champions that you've now fought, and we spoke to Stevie Levy, and she says she never wants to be that girl that calls someone out. And I felt like a lot of the women fighters at the moment, they are keeping their temper in check. They're not saying too much bad things about each other, and it's kind of like a friendly environment as it seems on the social media and the outside world. Is that the case, or do you think it's not the case and it will slowly start creeping into it?
Well, I was talking about this the other day. There's just no need to be rude. I think there's a way to call someone out without being detrimental to their character or to their boxing. And why do you want to fight them? Like, why do you want to fight them? Let people know, let them know. Like, I'd quite happy. Like, I did call. I wanted the Bridges fight. Everyone knew I wanted the Bridges fight. Okay, I completely didn't see my life taking that turn and completely messed it up at the time. But before that, I was like, this is a fight I want. So I started putting little feelers out there. And then I guess for her, she was like, oh, this is a perfect sort of step up for... So it just worked. I was never rude about Ebony. I don't feel anything rude to her. I've got nothing but respect for the woman. Like, we're totally different characters, but think she's done a great job. So I think there's ways and means to call people out. I don't think you do yourself any favours by being nasty after someone's had to pull out with an injury or something. Like, it's just, I mean, Sophie Elise recently, I did my rotator. I mean, my friend Gemma, she jumped in, did a fantastic job. But my shoulder, I was gutted, like financially very, very gutted. But it's not nice having to pull out. I've had to pull out of one fight for COVID and one fight for my shoulder, and both times that have broken me having to, because the other person's been training for you specifically, haven't they? And it's not just you're letting down all the people. So it takes a lot to do that. But Sophie was great. Like, she just wished me well, said get better, and then afterwards was like, if you want to come out and train with me, you're more than welcome. I mean, you can't ask for more than that, can you?
And then I noticed there's a few OnlyFans accounts, the saucy weigh-ins. It could go the wrong way. It could get the internet trolls, and I'm sure there is some out there giving the girls shit. But I feel like it's been quite well received, and it's people making an income for themselves.
Yeah, I mean, we saw the weigh-in at the weekend. I was like, fair play to her. I mean, where could you go? You already had Ebony, who's like nailed the lingerie and the risque weigh-ins and everything. And body paint. Body paint was the next answer, wasn't it? I did have a little chuckle when I saw that. I thought, oh, fair play.
I wasn't expecting that. And for yourself, I don't want to be ageist, but obviously the age is creeping in.
I'll be 22 before you know it.
But I know you've got your career outside of boxing, but when the gloves do hang up, are you planning on staying in the women's boxing? I feel like that would be beneficial for all the girls growing.
Yes, so that is my next thing. So I'll be fighting this year and next year. Not quite done with it yet, but I'm signing fighters at the moment. I've got my professional manager's license just 3 weeks ago. I got that.
I've got it written down already to talk about that because no, you can't see it. 11-11. I had it written down already.
Sports management, that's right. So I'm just getting my feet with it all. I'm trying to understand it all because I appreciate how difficult the legalities of everything is. And I just want to make sure that I do a good job by these girls. And I don't just want to sign anybody. I want to make sure we're a good fit. And I want to make sure that I believe in them and what I'm selling and what I'm pushing. And I'm not just in it for the world class either. I'm in it for the warriors. But as long as they can put their heart and soul into it, I'll be more than happy to give them whatever I can and do whatever I can to even the playing field. So hopefully this month we'll start signing some people.
Is it going to be exclusively females?
I think so at the moment. I mean, I'm not ruling out signing some men. I'm absolutely, God, I get done for sexism. But I just feel that's like, stick to what you're good at. Like, I know female boxing inside out, and I've experienced it. Like, this is what I know, so it makes sense to sort of stick with it. I'm sure as time goes on, and a manager's role is more what I know than female boxing, then that may change. But right now, just in it for the girls.
Do you with the British title now being made available to the girls, which is fantastic, and it's certainly about time. As you said, we had our first one a couple of weeks ago, which was Lauren Price, who was.
Oh, I knew it was someone that I recognised. I was
like,
we had a British.
Unfortunately, me and Scotty sort of discussed it ended up being kind of an anticlimax because Lauren Price is so clearly above British level. She's only had now 4 or 5 pro fights, and she is quite clearly world level.
Yeah,
very clearly. So, but
it's going to take some time, isn't it, to get the girls that are at that level fighting the girls at that level.
Yeah. Because the problem is, if you look through, I know BoxRec isn't, like the holy grail of it all, but flyweight, there's 4 pros. Superfly, there's 5. Bantam and super bantam, there's a massive spread. I suppose that's for a woman's sort of size when you're training. That sort of between 8.5, 9 stone is a fairly average bracket, isn't it?
Well, maybe lose weight.
Boil down a little bit. But yeah, I think the bantam and super bantam. I think unfortunately a lot of the girls of the names that we know, and obviously some of your past opponents, they're now past that level. I think of fighting for a British title. They'll be moving up into Europeans and worlds. But yeah. So what do you think's coming through? Have you got anyone in particular that you've got your eye on coming through?
There's so many good girls out there. I know my friend Ryan Kington in Bristol. He's got a girl, Charlie, making her debut soon. She'll be coming up for sparring on Tuesday. She's a good girl. Today I went up to Enzo. He's got a girl, Ashley, just about to turn over in July. As I say, there's no rush with these girls. They're young. Like, the coaches, the managers can all take their time bringing them on up and through, which is something that my generation and this generation of boxers coming through, they didn't have the time. It was like, it's now or never. It seized the moment, like, and they seized it all right, and I'm so pleased so many of the girls did. But I definitely, yeah, it's an exciting time. I reckon 10 years we'll be having a very different conversation. It'll be like, whoa, that planned hour.
Well, it's been I'm not going to say divisive, I don't think that's quite the right word, but as Scott has always said, that I've always been a massive advocate for it. I've always loved women boxing. When I was boxing, my coach was a woman. It was something I thought was very natural, and as I said, I've never met a woman boxer who isn't, one, lovely, but two, fucking nails. Because
I thought you were going to say nuts then.
No. Well, that's part of, of course, any of us that will put our head between them ropes to go toe to toe with one other person, we're all fucking nuts. But yeah, now that I think a lot of people that were perhaps skeptical of it to start with are actually now starting to come around to it, because it is entertaining. And we discussed last week as well, I don't think we need to change the 10 rounds. I don't think we need to change the 2 minutes, because we don't need to dilute the product. And the example I used was that Taylor Cameron fight. If those were 3-minute rounds, it wouldn't have been any more entertaining.
I think you hit the nail on the head there. I was talking about this the other day, is diluting it. And there's many good reasons to go over to the 3 minutes and the 12 rounds. But I said, like, you've got the excitement, you've got a different, like, we offer something different at the 2 minute rounds. And I'd worry that, like you say, it'd be diluted if you take that away.
Yeah, because it's not, I mean, some people might not understand that when the women train in a pro gym, it's not that they can't do 3-minute rounds. You all train 3-minute rounds. You know, spar 3-minute rounds. Probably only spar 2 minutes towards the end of camp, so you find yourself not waiting around in the fight.
Well, literally, I made my debut over 3-minute rounds, more as a sort of, women can do 3 minutes as well. But it was after the debut that I thought, you're not getting paid for the overtime. So I went down to the 2 minutes, and as you said, I'm not getting any younger. So now I'm like that. We should have an old age category, like 30-second round.
But the thing is with it, it's if it's 2-minute round, 1 minute break, them rounds are frantic and they are non-stop.
And you've got to work because you haven't got time to sit back and I think
you can't wait around.
So exciting because we all fight the 2 minutes, whereas with the threes, it's a lot more technical, isn't it? It's a lot more tactical. Just bring something different. I like both, but.
Yeah, like you said, though, I mean, I often found it. I mean, unlicensed, we fought 2 minutes, and if you were sparring a 3-minute round, you'd find yourself waiting. You'd be having a look, and then now you've only got a minute and a half left in the round, and you've got to go and win it, and you're fucked because you've been dancing around for a minute and a half.
Absolutely.
So yeah, no, I think it's growing. I think it's doing really well, and I can't wait to see where it's going. We've got so many world champions coming out of Britain. I'm going to briefly catch up with Nina next week. She's on holiday this week, so we'll catch up with her and see what her plan is. Because there was announced, I think it was yesterday, that the other 2 bantamweight champions are fighting.
Okay.
So there's a unification happening in the other side of the division.
Oh.
I'm just
interesting for Nina.
Yeah, I think for Nina, it probably puts Undisputed 2 fights away. Which
she's done all right, isn't she, since turning over? That's quite an impressive zoom.
Yeah, I mean, we can actually move this in because she was the first fight of the night on the main card on Saturday night. So we can move into that. I think it did kind of come exactly as we called it. Katie's height advantage over Nina wasn't really an advantage in the end because Nina just got into the body. With her shift in levels was fantastic. The way she went body head, and then got out.
Yeah, and she's really aggressive as well, isn't she? With everything, like it's all deliberate.
Yeah, I've got it here. Thorsland against Luna is September the 2nd in Denmark. So that's going to unify the WBO and the WBC and the ring belt.
Oh wow!
So then it's just Nina and Ebony that we need to get in the ring and then we could have a go at Undisputed.
Do you reckon that will happen for Ebony's return fight?
I think she's going to need one first. Yeah, she's got. I know she's got a voluntary. I mean, she's got the WBA belt, hasn't she? I think so. They're not as
How
harsh.
long has she been out?
Quite
It's been out a while, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think she fought Shannon O'Connell in.
Yes, she did.
September last year.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I don't think she would want to walk into that, especially everything that's been going on with the move and the new trainer. Definitely, she needs a warm up.
And a massive operation as well, isn't it? Like, yeah, I'd say.
Yeah.
That.
Yeah. So, but then I don't think. Obviously, Nina's 40 now. She's not going to want to wait around too long for it. And there's no comfortable fights in the bantamweight division. Everyone's bang on it. So I think it's exciting. I mean, I think the fight between Nina and Ebony is mouthwatering.
Yes.
Styles will just.
People were saying, where do you call that one? And where do you call that one? Like.
Yeah, I mean, for me, if that one goes the distance, it's Nina. But Ebony's so powerful.
Yeah, and she's got that little. She's got something. She's got that thing about her, isn't she? Like, she's got that. I'm not getting out of here without that. Like, it's just gritty. She's got that grit in her. But then again, Saturday, I thought Katie, for such a young girl, I thought she gave a really good account of herself. I thought took a few rounds, like 4 rounds, to fall into herself, to get into herself, to relax into it. But after the 4th round, I thought she really presented herself very well.
Yeah, I don't think she was. I don't think she was taking on board what Gav was saying in the breaks. He's very wordy. Considering you've only got 1 minute, you've got to take it all in. He's very wordy.
The first few rounds, because obviously I was just watching live, so I haven't heard any of that stuff in the corner. But I just think it took her a good 4 rounds to settle into herself. And then from what it looked on the outside, it was then. I don't know what he said to her, whether it was like, come on. But she seemed to pick up then, and she seemed like herself, like completely.
Yeah. I think it was end of the 4th going into the 5th. He said to her, do you want to be a world champion? Because
so that would make sense why she came out so hard on those.
Yeah, and like that, she couldn't really.
That is that's her first TV performance on DAZN, and for a world title, talk about chucked in at the deep end. 24 years old, your first appearance on Eddie Hearn's show is for a world title against one of the toughest women in the sport. Good luck. We all just went, yeah, you can do it.
But I mean, I can see now for Katie, obviously, I think the world level was just a bit of a step up for her. I can see her perhaps getting that British title fight at bantamweight. Unfortunately, I think a great opponent for her, I don't think would happen, because I think she's a stable mate and has not come back just yet, is Rachel Ball.
Oh, yes.
I would pay money to sit in that gym and watch them two spar. I think that would be just brilliant.
Yeah, they're great girls, aren't they?
And it's so unfortunate with Rachel. I think we were discussing actually before we came on, me and Scott. I think she had long COVID and then something else, and just
imagine the unfortunate timing of that. She had long COVID, then she had an accident in the park with a dog.
Yes, that's it.
Back got hurt badly. I mean, that's my kind of luck. I feel bad for the girl. That kind of stuff happens to me, not to other people.
Is Lady Luck a sarcastic nickname then?
Oh, hell yeah. Literally. Anything weird that can go wrong, anything could happen. It will happen to me, definitely.
Oh, wow. All these years, I never knew that as a sarcastic nickname.
Oh, yeah. Shocking.
Wow. So good win for Nina. I think all three. No, she had 200 to 90s. I scored 100 to 90, and 199 to 91. It must confuse Howard Foster scoring a women's fight, because he can't just score it 117, 111.
Yeah. Branch away from that.
So the next, just before the bell, I mean, you were there, Bec, so you would have seen this. Shannon Ryan.
Oh, excuse me. I just managed to choke myself on my own saliva. My voice is bad enough as it is, but without that, she was superb. I thought she absolutely deserved every second of enjoying that win. I know last time at the O2 she won and she was great, but she was so disappointed with her own performance because she's just a perfectionist and she's so dedicated to her craft. Really lovely girl, and I thought she was absolutely banging that night.
Yeah, I thought she was terrific, and I knew when the women start coming through, I like to play matchmaker and knowledge of women's boxing. I would love to see Shannon get a British title shot against Lisa Whiteside. I think that would be war.
Yeah. I just don't. That would whether the timing would happen because Lisa's right at the end and Shannon's right at the beginning.
Yeah, but everyone's avoided Lisa.
Yeah, it was a Ticey Gallagher fight recently, wasn't it?
Yeah, she did lose, didn't she, to Ticey Gallagher? But it's everyone avoids her, and she never gets the big fights that she should have got.
No, like a couple of years ago, she should have got those. Like, I completely agree with that. Yeah, Ticey's doing really like she's a hidden little. She doesn't get talked about nearly enough for how good she is.
No, again, I think it's a symptom of just the women's game, isn't it? That not enough people know. Sort of throughout the scale of it. I know I was sort of last week or the week before bigging up Nicola Hopewell, who's
the Northern Belt.
Yeah, she turned pro into the fly. She used to be a Bieber fighter, like a Maltese license type thing.
Yes.
And she was 6-0, 6 KOs in there. So you get.
Before she even, okay.
Yeah.
Because I think they tried to speak to me at one point, and I didn't have a clue. I thought they were a management company, like normal. I was like, I've never known. I was like, oh dear, no, I can't do that. Sorry. I was like, shit, sorry. I thought that was just a name for a management.
Yeah, it's a bit of a. I mean, when Nicola was on there, I sort of spoke to her over social media, and I was like, you really need to go British Boxing Board because you're not getting the recognition that you deserve. I think she was a WBF world champion, which I think Katie Healy was as well, because that's the WBF is one of the organisations that were under the British and Irish Boxing Authority as they went under. But yeah, I don't think the medicals were quite as stringent as they are with the British Boxing Board. The shows are always quite low paid. You had to sell a lot of tickets to make a good bit of money. But that was actually something else I had down from you earlier. Going in as the away fighter, are you under any obligation to sell any tickets?
No, like we don't at all.
That must make life so much easier.
Which is another reason, like I did I feel like it selfish as it sounds, like I've done my time in the small hall. I've done my time selling the tickets. I did 10 fights, having to make $3,500 before I could even fight, and selling out the local bingo hall. I've done that, and after COVID, it was a case of, if you want to do that, Bec, like you can get this record banging again. Like you can be the home fighter and you can pick your opponent and you can do that. And I was just like, what are you in it for? Like, I'm clearly not in it for the money because you don't make a shed load of money doing what I do. But I'm also not in it for the record. I'm not in it for the record. I'm in it to box, like to get the biggest amount of life experience and the biggest amount of, I don't know, like I don't think you can expand your mind and do the things that I've done and then expect it to shrink back down and be satisfied with what you were doing before. I just kind of think, just follow the path, see where it leads. It definitely hasn't led to any money or any record, but I don't know. I go to bed at night and I don't have any regrets I've got a few regrets from my personal life affecting fights, but apart from that, I don't have any regrets. Even when I've really screwed up a fight, when I've really not done justice to what I'm able to do. And I've been like, why did you box like that? Oh my God, that's ugly. Like, that's terrible. But I've given my all, and I go to bed at night knowing that I've done the best that I absolutely could. I've got integrity. I don't cower away from a challenge. I'm not a cheat in any way, shape, or form. I do the best that I can do, and I fall short against the world class a lot of the time. But I'm not gonna let that like get to me or anything. Like, I'd be less proud if I was any of those things that I just mentioned, or I cowered away or something. Like, I don't know. It's an individual thing, isn't it? And I know I sleep easy on that, knowing that I've done the best that I possibly can. So
yeah, and the biggest shows, the biggest exposure, the biggest venues. It's fantastic stuff.
yeah, I've just had such a great time. Never thought in a million years I'd get to walk out at the O2, like on one of the biggest female boxing cards of all time. And I was so chuffed. Not only that, but then like to put in a performance you're proud of, and I worked really, really hard for. And yeah, I haven't and since COVID, I've had a lot of like that Nina Hughes fight that got cancelled because of COVID originally. I've had a lot of health issues from COVID that have never ever gone away. And I just go to bed and I'm like, give yourself a pat on the back, Bec. Like, someone else might have given up and you haven't. You've just found a way to deal with each and every one. My thyroid, for one, after COVID, I mean, there was many other stuff going on, but your T3 and I think it's T4 levels, they control your metabolism. My T3, which is why I wake up some days, I haven't even got a voice. My T3 levels are really low after COVID. So that might not be a health issue. That might be absolutely fine, but it makes losing weight very, very difficult. Now I'm just making excuses to eat pizza. But it's so actually, even if it's just that I've got on the scales these days, I give myself a little oh no, mate, you still stuck it out, you done it. And I think that's what I'm going to try and do with the females that I sign, get to know them and know what's going on with them and what they're overcoming, because it's not just what you see when they get in the ring, it's what's got them to the ring in the first place, I think. Sorry,
and as a personal trainer, you'll know that that's half being a shrink as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, is the O2 your favourite venue to box in?
I think that night for me, you were there, it just felt electric. I could feel even after the fight, my hair was standing up on my arms because it really was quite the atmosphere.
And it was from early as well. I mean, whenever I go to the O2 or York Hall or all that, I get there at 4 when the doors open. I take my seat and I watch every single fight. But that venue was rammed from 5:30 onwards.
I mean, as you said, I'm an experienced fighter now.
Yeah.
And when I stood there, I looked back at my coach Dan, and I sort of gave him the look, the look that is, give me a cuddle, please. Because I was like, shit, this face is on fire. And I felt really tingly walking out, and I haven't had that for quite some time, so that was really cool. But I think where did I think it was Wembley that I boxed at during COVID, and it was a totally different atmosphere, but that gave me tingles as well as you went up the stadium steps. That was, yeah, there's some good venues, but the O2 was definitely one of my favourites.
Well, let's say it was at Wembley Arena Saturday night's card that we're talking about now. Move up to Chev Clark against David Jameson at cruiserweight. Scotty, I think Chev needs moving up now. Area title, maybe.
100%. It's not in doubt. Just let's get that going straight away.
Yeah, he's big, he's fast, he's strong. He's exactly what a cruiserweight should be, isn't he? He's yeah, big talent. I think he dropped Jameson in the 4th and then stopped him in the 5th there was a bit of bad blood, I think, between the two sort of before the fight, wasn't there? I mean, Shev's not backwards in coming forwards.
Yeah, but that's what happens. That's what I said earlier about the game. They always try and make the little bad blood, and then when the fight happens, you know, the bad blood goes out a little bit. But then it really was just a good fight for him, and now he needs to move up.
Yeah, someone else that needs to move up. We'll do the card not quite in the right order because we'll get this one out of the way. Johnny Fisher needs to stop fighting these knockover artists, doesn't he?
I've never. Well, the Romford Bull. What did he have? He probably had about 10,000 there with him. No, you've seen the video. The video of them in the underground singing to watch him for a minute. It was just like he needs his own show, and I don't know where that would be, but it would be lovely. They would sell that out if they got a little mini arena. It would be class because it shows when you got a personality, especially in that men's game where it's very tough. If you got a personality, you'll get the fan base.
Yeah, I'd like to see him fight David Adadaily for the English at the Copper Box, and I think two London boys sell that out. But I think, Bec, I mean, you said obviously that you come to fight every time you fight, which I know you do as well. But I think that Salas felt the power and then didn't want it.
Yeah, it was like you say, he had so much support there that night, but it just looked completely unmatched. Like it wasn't a great matchup, was it? And he looked nervous. For such a big guy, when he got in that ring, he looked nervous, and the fight didn't go on very long, did it?
No, it didn't even really look a clean contact. I mean, watching it on the telly, we had the benefit of the replays and stuff. It was a bit of a brush of the sort of the back of the head, and he was gone. Not in great condition either, Emilio Salas.
No, I was thinking that as well, and I think it's a real shame. I know it's a lot harder for the bigger guys to look in shape, but it's like we said earlier, it's your health when you get in there. Like you want to be in the best possible shape you can be. So yeah, I just
Johnny's clearly not eating with his dad.
Bash.
So we move on from Johnny. Like to see Johnny move up, area or English title. So the British things with Fabio Wardley, Fraser Clark, and whatnot. But I'd like to see him fight Adadaily. So that we move on to Ernie Scotney. Shanika Johnson wins ring walk of the night, hands down. That was fantastic seeing the hacker. I did wonder whether she was going to fight in the body paint, but I'm quite glad that she didn't. It's makes slipping the jab sound a bit different.
She was an excellent fighter, though. Excellent fighter. Ellie's so good. I thought if you took away the fact, like, if you were watching that but you couldn't see what they looked like, you would not have any idea you weren't watching a man's world title fight. It was just class. It wasn't female boxing, male boxing. It was just class boxing.
I mean, I said last week we were talking about Ellie, what we're building up to this fight, Scotty. I think she's the best we've got across all the weight divisions.
Yeah, and the way she fought that fight, it just overpowered. And then the girl's looking at her back going, I'm doing everything I can. I'm performing at a very high level here, and I can't get any change out of you. And that must be so demoralizing because you are doing your best, you are putting on a performance, and you're getting nothing out. And I hope that she comes back as well, because she was a great fighter to watch. And don't just see because I've lost to Ellie Scotney, that's my career over. She could still fight on these waters. But Ellie Scotney's a special talent.
Yeah, I think she's 15-1, isn't she, Shanika Johnson? So she's experienced. And just 15-2 now after fighting Ellie, but she's experienced.
You could see her like a heart going a little bit. Not a heart, that's the wrong way to say, but you could see like I don't know what to do now. And no, I hope she can get a few more fights. I'm sure she will.
Because she deserves to be on the world stage because she's that good. Like it was just purely that Ellie is like head and shoulders like good. Like it, I thought the difference between any other fight that night and that fight was huge.
Yeah, it was elite, wasn't it, from both of them?
Both girls to do that, like
yeah.
In with a lesser person than Ellie, she'd have looked phenomenal.
And the scary thing for everyone else in the bantamweight division is, super bantamweight, is that Ellie said she didn't think much of her own performance that night. She thought she was quite poor.
Always room for improvement.
In all honesty, I think that's the way that Shane works in his gym. I think that none of them get too full of themselves. They all think there's ways they can improve.
Yes.
And another one of his, obviously, Chris Bidham-Smith win the world title a couple of weeks back. Ellie win this. Another one who's well on the way to it is Caroline Dubois.
Oh, she's good, isn't she?
Yeah.
And again, lovely, lovely girl.
Yeah. Yeah, lovely girl from a lovely family, very well brought up.
You just want them to do well. Like, I was like praying for Ellie on Saturday, and I was just so happy for her. And Caroline's another one, like just a nice woman.
And I think with the casuals, they'll start sort of looking in with your fighters like Savannah Marshall, Caroline Dubois, because they do knock people out, and that's going to get the casual eyes over.
Yeah.
And then when they come over and then they see the sort of elite offering that Ellie Scottney and Shanika Johnson and the likes of that are giving us, that's where we're going to attract new fans, I think, to women's boxing.
Let's hope so.
Yeah. So the headline fight of the night, then, the always entertaining Showtime Sonny Edwards, Andreas Campos. I know, Scott, you're a massive fan of Sonny, aren't you?
I love him. Don't get hit, box, and enjoy yourself for the rest of the 12 rounds. It's people don't like watching Sonny Edwards because once you watch one round, it's the same for the whole fight. But that's not what boxing is. Boxing is about winning and not getting hit. And he goes in, he moves his head down, and as soon as the hook's coming, he's away, and he's already slapped the other guy twice. He's a special talent. The issue is because he's at that weight, it's not attractive in the men's game. But hopefully he gets the BAM fight. I don't think Eddie would have signed him if he won't get the promises to get the big fights. But he's a special talent and a joy to watch. If you like boxing, if you want to watch fights, then don't watch Sonny Edwards, because you're not going to get that, because he will not get hit.
Right. Bec, were you still in the arena towards the end? Because it did sound like the atmosphere deflated ever so slightly during that fight.
I think he's just hit the nail on the head. If you like the sport, like, he's an absolute talent, isn't he? But it's an acquired taste. A lot of boxing fans are fight fans, not boxing fans. That is going to be the problem with selling that.
Yeah. I think I've not seen Sonny fight live. I saw Charlie's first defense of his WBC flyweight title, his brother, and that was at the Copper Box in London, and the amount of people that were sort of looking around, and they were like on their phones or having a drink whilst the fight's on. And I'm kind of like, no, this is the art. You know, boxing's an art form, and this is it in its purest form. By 2 8-stone blokes that are not going to be able to knock each other out. But it's, as Scotty said, the moral of boxing is hit and don't get hit. So you can't really argue that they're supplying that.
No, absolutely not. But unfortunately, probably about 80% of the people in the crowd are not purist boxing fans.
No, yeah, believe me, I've been to an Anthony Joshua fight. That's very true there.
No, but I hope for Sonny, though, there are some tests out there for him. He is an elite level fighter, but if he gets those tests, he will have to not be as cocky. I mean, the first punch that was thrown, he was already ducking and diving out of the way.
Yeah.
Hopefully, he believes he is the best fighter in the world, and I can't argue with him. But if he does get the tests, it could be a very entertaining watch. Let's hope so.
Yeah, absolutely. Bec Connolly, thank you so much for joining us on Packing Punches. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you this evening, enlightening us all about your career. July 15th, York Hall, was it that you're fighting?
Yep, that's the next one. So, sorry I left you for a little bit of that. I'm not very good with technology.
July 15th is my birthday weekend. Actually, I think I might jump on. I might jump on the train to Bethnal Green.
Come to York Hall, yes, please.
Yeah, I've not been to Mecca for a while.
Excellent.
Bec, thanks for joining us tonight. Really insightful, and best of luck for your next fight.
Oh, thank you so much.
Lovely. Cheers, Bec. See you later.
Bye, 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 bye.